Here's a question for you. What happens when the numbers we trust to understand the economy aren't accurate? Between April 2023 and March 2024, the US government quietly revised its job numbers downward by a staggering 818,000 jobs, the largest downward revision in years. And most people never even heard about it. And here's the kicker. These revisions don't make the front page news. The media focuses on the initial reports, big flashy numbers that tell us the economy is booming. But when those numbers quietly get corrected weeks or months later, hardly anyone pays any attention. And it's not just the jobs data. What if the government data we rely on to understand unemployment, consumer spending, and even inflation is unreliable? Let's take a closer look at these revisions and what they might be hiding about the economy's true state. Okay, let's talk about these government data revisions, specifically job numbers. From April 2023 to March 2024, the US government revised job figures downward by a staggering 818,000 jobs. That's the most significant adjustment in recent memory and clear evidence that the job market isn't as strong as we're initially led to believe. Take March 2023, for example. The government initially reported 242,000 jobs added. But after revisions, that number was adjusted down to 174,000, a difference of 68,000 jobs wiped out. And this isn't a one-time fluke. Month after month, the story's the same. Overly optimistic job numbers that get quietly corrected later. So here's the question, why does this keep on happening? The downward revisions in job data are concerning enough on their own, but when you look at the broader economic landscape, they start to make even more sense, and the picture isn't pretty. Let's start with layoffs. In 2024, tech companies alone have seen record-breaking layoffs impacting tens of thousands of workers. Major firms that once drove innovation and hiring are now cutting back, citing uncertain economic conditions. And these layoffs don't just affect the people who lose their jobs. They ripple through the economy, impacting spending, housing, and even local businesses in tech-heavy cities like San Francisco. Then we have bankruptcies. In the 12 months ending September 30, 2024, bankruptcy filings, both personal and business, rose by 16.2%. This is one of the sharpest increases we've seen since the last major economic downturn. When people and businesses can't pay their debts, it's not just a sign of individual hardship, it's a signal that the economy as a whole is under pressure. Now let's talk about credit card defaults. They've jumped to the highest level since 2010. Lower income households are feeling the pinch the most, squeezed by high inflation and record borrowing costs. To make matters worse, credit card balances have surged, crossing $1 trillion, all while interest rates are eating away at household budgets. This is a huge red flag for the financial health of everyday folks. And it's not just credit cards. The housing market is starting to show cracks in places like San Francisco, where the tech sector drives much of the local economy. Housing prices are finally cooling off after years of explosive growth. Rising layoffs, reduced demand, they're creating a new dynamic, one that could signal trouble for the broader market. Housing has been one of the strongest pillars of this inflated economy. If that starts to falter, it could have serious implications for the greater economy at large. So what does this all mean? Job revisions, layoffs, credit card defaults, bankruptcies, and housing market shifts. If you think about it, they're not isolated events by themselves. They're interconnected, and together they tell a story of an economy that's much weaker than the headlines suggest. And yet, the government keeps reporting strong job growth and rising consumer sentiment. Are these numbers just a distraction from the cracks forming in the economy? Now you might be wondering, why does all this matter to you? After all, government data revisions and economic statistics might just seem like abstract numbers. But here's the truth. These numbers have real-world consequences, and they affect your financial future more than you think. Let's start with policymaking. The government uses these numbers to make critical decisions about interest rates, spending, and even taxation. But if the data they're relying on is wrong or deliberately skewed, how sound are those decisions? And how do they affect us? Take the Federal Reserve, for example. If they see strong job numbers, they may hold off on lowering interest rates. But if those numbers are later revised downward, the damage to the economy and to everyday people has already been done. And it's not just policymakers who rely on these numbers. Businesses look at jobs data to decide whether to expand or cut back. Consumers use them to gauge whether it's a good time to spend or save. When the numbers are misleading, everyone from CEOs to small business owners to families is making decisions based on a false narrative. Think about it. If you're told the economy is strong and jobs are growing, you might feel confident taking on new debt, buying a house, taking that vacation, or maybe even starting a business. But what happens when the truth catches up? This is where the real danger lies. False confidence. Government data revisions create a delay in how we perceive the economy's health. By the time the reality sets in, it's often too late to adjust course. Right now, with layoffs rising, bankruptcies up, and the housing market cooling, we're seeing cracks in the foundation of the economy. If you wait until those cracks become impossible to ignore, you could find yourself in a tough spot. Okay, so we've talked about the cracks forming in the economy and why the government's data revisions might not tell the whole story. Now let's focus on what you can do to protect yourself and your family, because while you can't control the economy, you can control your own financial decisions. First and foremost, and I've said this many times before, but live within your means. This might sound simple, but with rising prices everywhere, from groceries to cars, it's more important than ever to avoid unnecessary expenses. Don't get lured into buying that $90,000 car when a $25,000 Subaru gets the job done. I drive a Subaru myself, and let me tell you, it gets me everywhere I need to go just fine. Next, focus on paying down debt, especially high interest debt like credit cards. The less debt you carry, the more flexibility you'll have if the economy takes a turn for the worse. Think of it this way. Every dollar you don't owe to someone else is a dollar you can use to protect yourself and your family and take advantage of opportunities when they come around. And if you don't already have an emergency fund, now is the time to start building one. Aim for at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a savings account that you can access quickly if needed. Having that cushion can make all the difference if you face unexpected expenses or a job loss. Another big one, don't take every headline at face value. Government data might say one thing today, but remember how often those numbers get revised. Always dig deeper and look for patterns over time and not just the latest feel-good government reports. Use the eye test as well. Look around yourself. How are your neighbors doing? Friends and family? How does the economy look from where you live? I always like to say, trust but verify. It's not about being negative or pessimistic. It's about staying informed. Finally, think about diversifying your income, whether it's a side hustle, freelance work, or even renting out an extra room. Having more than one source of income can provide a safety net if your main job is affected. You don't have to make drastic changes overnight. Small steps add up, and every little bit of extra income helps. So we've covered a lot in this video, from government data revisions to layoffs, bankruptcies, and the housing market shifts. These aren't just isolated issues. They're part of a bigger story about the cracks forming in our economy. I want you to pay attention. At the end of the day, the economy is cyclical. Ups and downs in the economy are expected and normal. Recessions are really nothing to be feared, but recent deficit spending, stimulus payments, free money for businesses, this next one will probably be pretty bad. Let me know in the comments, what's your biggest financial concern right now? Have you noticed any of these economic cracks where you live? And just so you know, I do read all of your comments and I appreciate everyone. Your stories and insights can actually help others. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to like and subscribe. I've got more videos coming that deep dive into the economy, personal finance, and everything else you need to stay informed. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.